Hey guys, today we're going to look at how to play matrix cycles in jazz, which are commonly known as Coltrane changes. These cycles use harmony that moves either up or down in major thirds. Originally, these chord changes were used in jazz standards like Have You Met Miss Jones, and Coltrane then popularized these cool changes in tunes like Giant Steps and Countdown. The matrix cycle that Coltrane uses in the tune Countdown is particularly useful when applying the matrix cycle to a major 2-5 in jazz. To analyze some different ways we can approach these matrix cycle chord changes, we're going to check out some content from my newest release on Jazz Lesson Videos entitled 27 Exercises on Matrix Cycles. So as I mentioned on the tune Have You Met Miss Jones, which was written in 1937, the bridge moves into a few different key centers that are all related to each other because they're a major third apart. So we start on concert B flat, then we move to concert F sharp, then to D, and then back to F sharp again. And Coltrane used a very similar movement when he wrote his matrix cycles because they're all, again, related to each other via major thirds. They're all major third apart. So we theorize that he might have gotten this same idea from hearing tunes like Have You Met Miss Jones. So from here, let's go into how the matrix cycle is used on Coltrane's tune Giant Steps. So looking at the chord changes to Giant Steps, the key centers are all related because they're a major third apart. And this is our matrix cycle. So if we relate that then to the circle of fourths, we could see that this basically splits our octave up into 3 equal parts. Starting on C, if we move up a major third, we land on E. If we move up another major third, we're on E flat. And then if we move up yet another major third, we're back to C again, completing our matrix cycle. So one of the interesting things about Giant Steps is instead of moving up in major thirds, it actually moves down in major thirds for the first 8 bars. Starting on the key of A flat, we then move down to the key of E, and then down again to the key of C. So now that we've looked at the chord progression to Giant Steps, let's check out the chord progression to Countdown. So Countdown functions basically because we're inserting the matrix cycle over what would be a normal 2-5-1 progression. So we actually start on the regular 2 minor chord here. And from there, we go up a half step to the 5 chord, which then resolves to our first key in the matrix cycle. And from there, it's basically just giant steps until we get to our 1 chord. And we see that we even have the original 5 chord right before we resolve to our 1 chord in the very last bar. Awesome. So now let's check out some exercises so we can really internalize the sound of the matrix cycle. So step 1 is let's just check out this chord progression and arpeggiate every single chord in root position 1, 3, 5, 7. So we can really internalize the sound and hear how it all sounds one chord after the next. So one exercise that I really like to do to just internalize the sound of these chords and get all the right notes in my ears and under my fingers is to just arpeggiate them all in root position, just going 1, 3, 5, 7. So if we start on our first chord here, A flat major, we're playing A flat, C, E flat, G. Then we move to the first 5 chord of our next tonal center, which is B7. So this is a dominant chord. We go 1, 3, 5, flat 7, B, D sharp, F sharp, A natural. Then to E major, E, G sharp, B, D sharp. Then to the next 5 chord of our resolution chord here, which is G7, G, B, D, F natural. Finally to C major, C, E, G, B. So now that we've gone through arpeggiating these chords, let's get into some exercises that basically vary on these chord arpeggios and change the order of some notes so we get some smooth voice leading in our exercises here. So in this diatonic exercise on the matrix cycle here, we start off playing 3, 1, 5, 7 in our first chord. And from there, we move down a half step using some smooth voice leading in order to get to our next chord where we play 5, 3, 1, flat 7. Again, moving from that flat 7 down to the third of the next chord. Just a half step motion here. Again, some smooth voice leading. 3, 5, 1, 7. Moving again, just down a half step to 5, 3, 1, flat 7, and yet again down a half step into the third of our final resolution chord here, playing 3, 5, 7, 9, 9, 1. So you'll notice that in this exercise, we're using nothing but the arpeggio notes from each chord, and we're ending our phrase again with an arpeggio that also reaches up to the ninth of the chord, which is our first upper extension, still very much part of the chord arpeggio, to then resolve right back down on the root on the last beat there. So let's just hear what this exercise sounds like slowly now. And again, a little bit faster. So in that last exercise, you can really see how we've taken these arpeggio notes in order to create some smooth voice leading and connect these kind of uncommon, slightly weird chords and the chord movement using some really melodic ideas. So let's check out our next exercise on the Coltrane tune Countdown, where we're going to use some diatonic passing tones in combination with everything else and get into how that matrix cycle sounds. So starting on our 2 chord here, we're playing 1, 2, 3, 5, and the 2 in this case is what's functioning as our passing tone. It's diatonic because it's still part of the scale that relates to this chord, and it connects our 1, the first degree, literally to our 3rd degree. Now this technique is one thing that really strengthens our use of just being able to play ideas fluently through the chord changes, connect ideas, have stronger voice leading in the middle of the measure, not just going from one bar or one chord to the next. So anyway, as we get into our next chord here, we have 6, 5, 3, 1, then 1, 2, 3, 5, the same digital pattern that we have in bar 1, then going down to 9, flat 7, 5, 1, 3, 5, 9, 1, flat 7, 5, 3, 1, just a straight descending arpeggio here, finally resolving to 9, 7, 1, 9, 3, 5 in our last bar. So you'll notice a prevalence of 9, 11, and 13 in these exercises. So here's what this one sounds like slowly. And a little bit faster now. So going back to giant steps now, let's try some exercises that use chromatic passing tones in order to just further increase that voice leading, find more melodic ways to connect these chord changes together. So in the first measure here, we start on the 5th of the chord, then we have a chromatic passing tone leading down to the 4th and then the 3rd, before resolving to the root of the next chord, where we then have a chromatic passing tone leading down to the flat 7, then back up to the root again. Then we have the 3rd of the chord, the root, then a chromatic passing tone leading from the root into the 9th. Then again we resolve up a half step into the root of the next chord, down a chromatic passing tone, down another half step to the flat 7, back up to the root, landing on the 3rd again, 3, 5, 9, then a chromatic passing tone leading down to the root, then a chromatic passing tone leading down to the 5th, then the 4th, and finally our last chromatic passing tone is the flat 3 leading up into the major 3rd to resolve. So here's what this one sounds like slowly. And then again a little bit faster. So we checked out 2 great examples of the matrix cycle using major thirds on Coltrane's tunes Giant Steps and Countdown, and how to really connect our ideas through these chord changes using the notes from the arpeggio, and then to create smooth voice leading by changing the order of these notes and these arpeggio notes to really smoothly lead from one chord into the next, and further then to add some diatonic passing tones and some chromatic passing tones to just increase the color of our lines and ideas and really just connect our phrases even more clearly. So you can check out more ideas based on everything here on my newest release with jazz lesson videos entitled 27 Exercises on Matrix Cycles. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, let us know if there's any topic that you want us to cover in the future, and thank you for watching.